So I put together 25, actually 28. I don't know if I'll get through them all. 28 just different random tips and tricks that I pretty much came up with by going through emails from past questions people have had on electrical in the past. So just going to run through them as quick as I can, see if I can get through all 25 of them, and we'll go into Q&A and see where you want to go from there. So one of the questions is, where are all of the double or two-pole components? So here's a bunch of three-pole components, but there's no two. Even if I go into fuses, I've got three-pole but no two-pole. And if you look at it, it's actually a command. It's using fuse 1, using the same fuse as this symbol, HFU1. This says WD 3 unit HFU1. So just using Snagit, I captured 2 of the fuses. There you go. I just screenshotted it and saved 2 of the fuses for my icon. And it's actually really easy to go to your icon wizard and add these missing two-pole components. Oops, you got to double click when you're in the wizard. So I'm going to do a two-pole fuse, and probably the easiest way is to just go to the properties of this one and copy this command. You see WD 3 unit, do a copy, and then I'm going to add a new command. Instead of adding a component, I'm going to add a command. And you can hit this list button and see some of the other commands that you can add. And there's two-pole parametric build. So it's just a normal fuse block, but we're going to run a script in front of it. So we'll say 2 unit instead of 3 unit. This is 2. And we'll go get my icon that I screenshotted. There we go. And we'll put him up here. That's it. It's just a command instead of an icon, so it'd be pretty easy to create your two-pole commands in a separate menu. Just to see what that's going to look like. When I go to my icon menu now, there's my two-pole. I'm going to go down, and it's only going to do the 2 of them, and then link the 2 together. So once your two-pole commands, just copy the script that is there for the 3-pole, and you should be good to go. The next one I got on my list is project folders returning after you close them. I just had this one come up not too long ago again. If you right-click on these finished projects and close them, which you do want to do because when you load electrical, it will check for every one of these drawings in every project that's open and make sure that they're all there. So you do want to close these when you're done with them. However, if you have no drawings opened, if I was to close this drawing, I'd have no command line at the bottom. And then when I close these, the script never runs to actually delete the project from the project manager. So the next time you restart electrical, they're going to all come back. So the trick is, before you right-click on a project and say close, just make sure that you have the drawing loaded. Mirroring components. This is actually one of the last questions that I've answered over email. the user was using mirror, just AutoCAD's mirror, right? They're going to mirror this command. We'll go between 2 points, and we'll pick centers. So we're going to mirror it right in the center. Let's do that again. Mid between 2 points, center. And I will delete the other one. So it looks good, right? It looks good. But when I go to run a wire off of it and show my connection points, you can see the wire connection points are kind of screwed up, and they actually run the wrong way. If I run a wire to it, it'll do some weird jog and actually come into this side instead of coming around to the other side. So it's just another case of you shouldn't be using AutoCAD commands when there's an electrical equivalent. And in this case, it is reverse flip component. This does that same mirror, but does it with keeping the electrical intelligence in place. So if I say reverse, and now when I run my wires, you see on this one, the wires actually understand where they're supposed to go. It knows which side they're going to come in from. That reverse also has a flip. So if I flip this one, flips it upside down, and then flips it back. So your two different mirror directions, instead of using your AutoCAD mirror, use your reverse and flip. This question actually came from someone inside of IMAGINiT. When they're placing panels, sometimes your panels have multiple views, and let's delete him and replace him. So we'll go panel, icon menu. We're going to go get an enclosure. And we'll get the same one since I just did that. This is actually a pretty good one. It comes in with a whole bunch of different views, and when you place it, it explodes that block, and then I have this as a block, and this as a block, and this is a block. And the question was, in this case, if I right-click on this one and edit the footprint, it has AutoCAD Electrical intelligence to that block. But the rest of these are just dumb AutoCAD blocks. If I right-click on this one, I don't get edit footprint. It's just an AutoCAD block. And the user wanted to delete this one and maybe move this over. And by doing that, they've just removed that panel, that enclosure from the bill of material. How do they put it back if they deleted that? The easiest way that I know is to go back to your icon menu. We're going to do another enclosure, and right there's my Hoffman and my catalog number, but just say pick for a non-AutoCAD electrical block, and it'll add X data to that dumb AutoCAD block, and now this component is now an AutoCAD electrical component, and that Hoffman enclosure has been added back to my bill of material. And how does the footprint know to explode? If you're adding your own footprints and you want to add a front and a side view to your footprints, when you're in the footprint lookup database, I will edit, let's edit Hoffman since we were just in that one. So you see that these block names start with an asterisk. If the block name starts with an asterisk, when that block is placed, it will be exploded. So in this case, this one will not. It's just going to place that block, and that block is probably only one view, and it already has the P tag attribute and whatnot, whereas this one is multiple views. So as soon as you place it, it's going to explode it, and you'll end up with what we had here. So if you have multiple views, throw an asterisk in the footprint lookup at the beginning, it'll explode it. This is something else for panels, something that I've seen someone do and actually have helped one or two people get this set up for themselves. That's putting knockouts into all of your footprints. So the only real key is making sure that you have consistent layer names. So if I have a knockout layer name in all of my blocks, I'd be able to toggle that layer on and off. And in fact, I do here. I have a knockout layer, and in all of these blocks, I have a knockout layer. It's turned off right now. Underscore view, or you can go to the view tab, which it's not, that's an AutoCAD tab. You'd have to turn that tab on. You type in underscore view. You can see the different views, and I've saved a cutouts view. So if I set that as current, you can see what I need to send to the shop in order to have them knock out these holes for all of these footprints. These circles actually are part of that knockout, part of each of the footprints. Okay, so I go back to no cutout info, and really I'm just turning a bunch of layers on and off. It's essentially all I'm doing. And then along those same lines, if I switch that, let's switch that back. That's F1. That's not it. Underscore view. Go back to knockout. Toggling this title block to normally open, normally closed will allow me to switch between like a shop title block or a proto title block and a regular title block. So toggle normally open, normally closed is typically for components. So HPD11 horizontal push button, and then the first number is the parent or child, and then the next number is normally open or normally closed. So if you make that fourth and fifth character in your title block a 1-1, and you make another title block a 1-2, you can toggle your title block to normally open, normally closed. So you can switch between having a shop drawing title block and regular. And when you're playing with this, if you type in rename, you can actually find your block and rename them right here just for when you're playing. So there you can see my ACAD-E title, and I have an ACAD 1-1 and an ACAD 1-2, and then the rest of E title. So you can rename your blocks by typing in rename, and when you're kind of playing with that. Same with attributes and stuff like that. In this case, you see this big long number. This user was trying to have the drawing number, or the drawing number field in the ladder, and it's not an option. So what we did was we added it as a bunch of attributes in the title block itself. So this title block actually includes a whole bunch of these attributes. And then with title block update, we push the drawing number to it. But what I want to show you is when you are editing attributes, so if I do a block edit, and I delete all of these attributes. I'm done with those. When I close out of the block editor and save it, they're still all there. You run into this a lot in electrical when you're playing with your blocks and adding and removing attributes, and then you go back, you come back out of the block editor environment, and the attributes are still there, or they're not there, or they haven't changed the way you just got done changing them. So because attributes can be added and removed and rotated and renamed in each block instance, if you're going to make changes to your attributes, in order to see those changes reflected, you have to synchronize attributes. So ATT sync is the command, and I'll select my title block. It says, do you want to attribute sync this block? Yes, I do. And now those attributes that I deleted in the block editor environment have went away, and they're now back in sync. Just be careful with ATT sync with electrical components, because electrical puts the description and the tag and special attribute, special layers, and if you do an ATT sync on an AutoCAD electrical symbol, all of these will go back to layer 0. So you'll lose a bunch of your colors. Something I get asked pretty often is, how do I add the catalog number to my drawing? It's actually there already. I mean, really, if I explode this in an invisible attribute, catalog and manufacturer is right there. This is actually a pretty easy one because that information is already on the drawing. It's just hidden. So I have a normally open push button in my project folder where I've put catalog and manufacturer right here. And one way to bring them in is to update. So if I use swap and update block, swap will swap out one block for a block of a different name. Update will update a different version of the selected block. So I'm going to update this guy. It goes to my project folder, and I do have a normally open push button drawing there, and I'll replace all of them in the active drawing. One thing that it doesn't do, though, it's smart enough to know that catalog and manufacturer should be hidden. And if I edit this component, manufacturer and catalog have values in it, but they're hidden, even though in that block they weren't originally. So I'll go to Move and Show Attribute, click on this guy, and say Show the catalog and the manufacturer. All right, so any new one coming in, they would be visible, but they were invisible, so they kept that trait. Could do the same thing for this one. Catalog and manufacturer. All right, pretty straightforward. If you are wanting other information pushed to attributes, one of the things that you can do in the catalog, let's go to the catalog. Is in text value. In text value, I can say the name of an attribute and then equals and then whatever I want to push into it. So this is another pretty easy way to push information from the catalog down into attributes in my symbols. And if there's other info from the catalog that you want pushed down, I've got some list routines and stuff that you can run after the fact and push them out. But I try to get everything to to not require those extra list routines if at all possible. Task command for off-sheet updates. I find there's an e-stop that says start stop, and he should just say stop when I say OK. Since there are panel representations on another sheet, anytime there's something off sheet, it asks if you want to go ahead and update that, which you should. However, if I'm going to, next I'm going to update the description on this light, and then I'm going to update the description on this light, and then I'm going to update the description of this light. It's a lot of jumping back and forth between drawings. So instead of saying OK and saving the drawing and jumping out and updating the panel, I can say task. And that actually creates a database, an update database that is remembering what all project tasks are remaining. So that's this button right here. Let me close out of this so you can see it. This little check mark. This shows which things off sheet still have pending tasks. So I can select them both and say go ahead and do them. So now at this point I'll save the drawing, it'll jump out, make changes to the footprint and come back. Number 10, changing the family's default tagging. I just got asked about this for lights. They wanted to change the way the light was tagged. So this is a little paper put together by Mark Flaler. Shows all of the default family names, and they wanted light to be L-I-T-E, something like that, instead of L-T. And to change it, not to change it in a way different than what I'm going to show you, you would have to go change the catalog page and change all of your symbols and change the family attributes. This LT is just all over the place. So a different way to modify this is to create a wd_fam.dat, wd family file, and then you say LT, comma, and then what you want it to be. And from that point on, whenever a device that is typically tagged LT is getting tagged, it will be tagged LITE. If you make a change to this or make a new one of these DAT files, you'll have to restart electrical in order to see those changes. So I already had that in place. So if I go find a light and re-tag him, he is now, and I'll just task that and re-tag. So all of my lights are going to be LITE instead of LT. And that's all coming from that wd_fam.dat. So upgrade time's coming, right? The new release of electrical will be out in a few months. And a really common complaint that I get, especially when doing upgrades, is as soon as we do the upgrade, all these paths stop working. It can no longer find symbols because for some reason Autodesk thought it would be good to throw the year in here. So every project that you have has the wrong year in it, and when you moved into 2019, you'll have to come in here, hit the header, press default, press default, press default. Why there's not a default all is beyond me. But you need to update all of these years. So I came up with, or didn't come up with this, I found a list routine, and I actually wrote this little post here that is about this very thing. So they're all saying 2017, and it looks like they were all saying 16, and we switched them to 18. But anyway, here's the list routine. You can email me. I can send you this list routine if you want. But you upload it and load this mass update project properties. And then the command string is, see if I get this right on the first time, change project, and then what year you want to change from. Let's say 2018, and we want to go to 2019. Just a quote. All right. Nope. What did I do wrong? Change project. I'm missing the S. Change projects. Okay, so it wants to know what folder you want, and it will go down into all subfolders and find every project file that's inside of this folder and below. Okay, so you can go out to your network. It actually runs really quickly. Say OK, and it runs through. It only found 1 or 2 in that case. And if I were to go open this project's path would have been updated. Actually, let's go see. I think WD demo is pointing to 2016. So we need to go from 2016 to 2018. And I'm pretty sure this project is in that path. And now they all say 2018. So pretty slick list routine. It runs really quick. It'll do 50, 60 project files in a heartbeat. It's pretty slick. So when you're getting ready to upgrade, that's definitely something that you should run through and change all of your project properties if you have the year in your project properties. Mass updating block attributes. Couple different ways to push mass changes here. Let's see, let's go to these lights. We can copy catalog assignments between components. That's one way. And so select the master, and it shows you what that is. And then you can come out and say, he should be that and that. And there's another red light. And now all of these components have the same catalog information. Location code and installation code is another one that's like that. It's right here. There's first one, copy, installation, and location code. It behaves pretty much the same way. You're going to pick a master. They're all operator station 3, so let's pick this MCAD 5 as our master. So we're going to push location codes to MCAD 5, and then you just go through and pick which components you want to push to that. And I'll task that change. It wants to jump out and update all my panels. So all my lights now have a new location code. And then another way is to update via Excel. So you can export to a spreadsheet. And here's all of the different ways, different types of attributes you can export to an Excel spreadsheet. So if I leave it on the default, which is components, I'm going to have catalog information, descriptions. It's going to push all this out to Excel. I'll just say for the active drawing. And we'll put it in the project folder. And this is the Excel file. So you can also push drawing properties or title block info comes out with the title properties. Quite a number of options in there that you can push out when you do that export to Excel. But if I take this number 1 off, and we're going to make this have 3 descriptions instead of 2. Nothing major. The only thing that you need to know is the columns that have parentheses you can't mess with. So don't change anything in this column. Don't change anything in this column. You can do sorting and whatnot. Just make sure you don't make any changes to the couple of columns that have the parentheses around them. Over here you see there's a couple more that have parentheses around them. So when I'm done with it, I hit save. Come back to electrical, import from Excel or from a spreadsheet. There's my spreadsheet. And here's my 3 different descriptions. Safety, relay, 1, 2, 3. The number 1, number 2, number 3 got pushed down to DESC3. That's updating block attributes. Swapping a block. Let's go to a different sheet. I got this one pretty messed up now. I want to swap out these limit switches for something else. So I already did the update block. Update let us update a block of the same name, or swap lets us swap to a block of a different name. So I'll say one at a time, and I'm going to pick a block that's like another block. No dialogues, just do everything right on the screen here. So it says, what's the component to use as a master? I use this PS 611. What's the component I want to swap out? Limit switch and this limit switch. So it retags them. It keeps, other than the retag, it keeps all of the other attribute data. It's important to know because according to my bill of material, I still have 2 limit switches. This is still a limit switch. It didn't change the catalog information. So I'd have to maybe copy catalog assignment. He doesn't have one anyway. So now he does. I'm going to overwrite my limit switch and overwrite my other limit switch. Okay, so just know when you do your swap, it will retag it, but it doesn't change the catalog information. You might have to have a little bit of cleanup that you have to do yet. Removing the Viewcube. I get this one all the time. I'm not sure why electrical even has the Viewcube by default. Everything is 2D. Even if you go to the panel side in electrical, everything is 2D. And this Viewcube is just there to mess with your head when you do something like that. If you go to your options, under 3D modeling, there's a checkbox that says display the Viewcube when you're in 2D wireframe. So if you just clear this first one, if you ever do open something that's 3D, you'll have your Viewcube to rotate around, maybe before you're going to do flat shot. If you download a step file or something like that and you open it in AutoCAD, you can change to the 3D ribbon, and as soon as you switch to the shaded view, your Viewcube will come back and then you can rotate and whatnot. Flat shot wasn't on my list, but it's worth noting. The command flat shot lets you it'll generate a 2D block of a 3D object. So if you open up a step file or an SAT file, get it oriented at the front or a side view orientation and then type in flat shot, and this will spit out a 2D block for you of that 3D object in the orientation that it's currently in. And then pan and zoom. I put this one on my list and I took it off and I put it on and I took it off. But I'm surprised at how often I run into places. Just last month, I ran into a place where the people were long-time AutoCAD users and they still were using the zoom tools here. They wanted to get rid of the ribbon because they wanted their zoom tools. Double-clicking your mouse wheel is a zoom extent, and when you roll your mouse wheel away, or I guess when you roll it towards you or back, I don't know, it goes away. It's a dynamic zoom. Wherever your mouse is, that's where it's going to zoom. And I'm just surprised at how often I run into people who are not using the mouse wheel. So double-clicking it is a zoom extent. It's a dynamic zoom. It rolls to wherever your mouse cursor is. And then something that was just like earth-shattering for 2 users last month, if you hold down the mouse wheel, it pans. I mean, they've been using AutoCAD for a long time, but they've always been using the pan command. Just never realized if you hold down the mouse wheel, it does a pan. So hopefully, I mean, it's huge if you don't know that. That ought to be worth the time sitting through this right there. Next couple of things I got here are changing font sizes. It's just for one project. You want the wire numbers larger or the description text smaller. It's just a one-time thing. From the project utilities, there is change attribute size. This lets you pick a whole bunch of different attributes and it'll run through the entire project and you can type in a new height or new width. This is not how you should be doing this at the close of every project. You shouldn't be coming in and making your fonts match your standard. But if for one project someone wants the wire numbers a little bit smaller, there is a way to do that, and that is the project utilities. Also, when a project completes, project utilities is a good place to fix all your wire numbers, fix all of your components so that they don't accidentally get changed moving forward. If you want to change all of your component tags to be slightly smaller, the right way to do that is to change your entire library. And from the schematic tab, there is modify the entire symbol library. It's underneath your symbol builder. So the first thing you do is pick your symbol library, and definitely test this first on a smaller subset and not your entire library. I'm going to go to where's my, might have drawings in there. Nope, no AutoCAD drawings. No. There's my Dropbox. I couldn't find my Dropbox. I know there's a couple drawings in here. Oops. This is not getting in, it's not going into subfolders. Let's go back into that. I gotta go into that folder. There we go. So I found 10 drawings. You want to definitely play with this before you do it on your entire symbol library. And definitely make a backup before you do it. But this will run on every drawing in that entire folder. So some standard things that you would do is change the text type of your, this default attribute will change all of the normal attributes. But there's your component tags, parent descriptions. So if you want to change the descriptions to be slightly smaller on all of your symbols, there you go. Quick way to do that. You can also run a Lisp expression. So just open bracket, and then you can run one expression. And of course, you could actually load a script or run a loaded list as well. You just have to do it inside this one expression. So a nice way to run a script on a whole bunch of drawings all at once. So this is a list expression. Another way to run, if I go back to my project utilities, another way to run automation on a bunch of drawings at once. This will allow you to run a script file. So you have to actually load a script file. And a script file, if you don't know, is essentially just copying down letter for letter what you would type in the command line. And then it will run that on every drawing in the project. Okay, so, and there's no limit to how many drawings you can have in a project. So if you want to go crazy with it, you can. But there's a way to run a script on a whole bunch of drawings at once. And then another nifty little utility is Script Pro 2. I have this guy already unzipped somewhere. There we go. And the way Script Pro works is, again, you need a script file. And you can add drawings from a subfolder. All right, so here's a bunch of drawings, and then I'm going to browse out and pick a script file. And then you can run that script on all of these drawings at once. So you got project-wide, folder-wide, and then with the extra utility, however many you want to run at once. The only downside to the ones that are going to run folder-wide is your AutoCAD Electrical is kind of locked while that's running. You can't really, if you go try to check your email, it's going to keep switching AutoCAD in front of your email. Other SERP options. Surfers here. everyone knows you can right-click on a component and surf and find anything that's related to that component. What people miss is if you start the surfer and instead of clicking on something, press enter, you get this little dialog, and you can search by catalog number, search by wire number, by tags. I want to find all of the LIT, E, asterisks. And I have 2 of them, and then it'll take me right to them. So surfer, and then instead of clicking on something, press enter, it gives you a little dialog that a lot of people miss. Let's see here, sheet numbers. If you want to add your sheet numbers, this is a really common request that I get, is adding the sheet number to the ladder. I want the sheet number in front of the ladder so that if I move my sheets around, my ladders update. If you're going to do that, first of all, you need to do that before you place your ladders. Once you've placed your ladders, this master ladder reference block is actually different between the different ladder styles, and the ladder style that has sheet number in front of it is a different block. So you'll need to delete your ladder and replace your ladder. It's the easiest way to fix that. But you're really going to start in your drawing properties, in your drawing format. So the first thing we'll do is set up the ladder to be sheet and number, right? And then you're going to have to set your components to be family and then sheet, so %S. And then we're going to have to set the wire numbers to be %S. And that's pretty much it. So we've changed our wires. Our components should probably add it to our cross-reference. So we've added %S to our ladder, our components, our wire numbers, and our cross-reference. And if I was to draw a new ladder now, and he's not going to start with 641. Well, I'll start him with 50, because 6 should come from my sheet number. All right, so that 6 came from this sheet number. And then any wire number or component tag that I place is going to have the %S, otherwise it'll just be tagged as 50 on this row. So something that I get asked quite often about, put that in your template and then place your first 2 ladders in your template. And then you should be able to move your sheets around, and you might still have to re-tag, you know, revise your ladders, say redo on him if, you know, if that's going to change, if your sheet number changes. You might have to still do your re-tags, but everything should re-sync up with your sheet number then. I think I've crossed 25. I'm at 28 now, but I got a couple more that I can keep going. I was going to do some settings files for reports, inserting multiple components at once, but we'll get 10 minutes. I think it's probably a good enough time to stop and see where you guys want to go from here.